Luke here of SimBoxx. Tonight I'm delighted to be joined by a good friend of ours here at SimBoxx in Joe Gallagher. Good evening, Joe.
Hi mate, you okay?
Yeah, all good, thanks. How are you keeping?
Yeah, all right. Busy, enjoying work. Some big fights coming up, so yeah, long days at the office.
Absolutely. There's a lot of things that I want to chat to you about this evening, but I'm sure there's only one place that we can really start. Earlier on this afternoon, UK time, Naoya Inoue unified 3 of the 4 world titles in knocking out Nonito Donaire in emphatic fashion. First of all, Joe, what was your thoughts on the victory?
Yeah, watched it in the gym with the lads and brilliant right hand. I thought Donaire was doing all right in the first round and he was beginning to have a bit of success in that. But obviously, Inoue feinted a jab, drew the lead and chopped a lovely right hand that hit Donaire sort of like high on the head on the temple. And when he came out in the second round, he caught me again and he never really recovered. And even when he wobbled, I thought the ref might have jumped in, but he didn't. He gave him every chance. And yeah, it was just a stunning performance by Inoue. I did think he'd win the fight, but I didn't think he'd do it as spectacular or as quick as what he did.
Yeah, of course. So in the immediate aftermath, everyone was shocked and surprised at the emphaticness of the knockout. But then the attention turned to your man, Paul Butler. He holds the other world title in that division. And if Naoya Inoue wants to go and become undisputed, as he's mentioned previously, he's going to have to come and see Paul Butler. I think that the first question I have to ask, Joe, after watching a performance like that and seeing Inoue as we know him, how do you, as a trainer, begin to formulate a plan to defeat that, to overcome the skill, the power, and everything that comes with Inoue?
Yeah, I spoke to Paul not long after it, and he just said, right, Joe, crack on with negotiations. Make sure there's 2 gum shields, a head guard, and he's in 16-ounce gloves. So, yeah, listen, Paul, straight away. It's funny, fighters, for Paul, after reading everything on social media today, people always like to blame either the managers or the trainers, but it's the fighters themselves. Paul Butler wants to fight Inoue. He wants to test himself against the best in the world. And Inoue is that. It's a chance for him in his career. He's been boxing since he was aged, 23, something like that, since 10 years old. He's got a chance now to fight for all the belts, undisputed, ring belt, everything, Lanil, the whole lot. Why would you not want to? Well, as Paul would say, I didn't come boxing to become a world champion and duck people. You've seen Cambosa at the weekend take chances with Hannah. And yeah, Paul will be a big underdog. But we're in boxing. We can't say there's fights that haven't gone before where people have started as big underdogs, do you know what I mean? And pulled off an upset. I'm not saying Paul's Buster Douglas, but no one expected him to beat Mike Tyson, do you understand? And people forget Paul Butler was a 3-1 or 4-1 underdog in his last fight against Sion Jonas, who beat Casemiro. So at the end of the day, the 2 fighters, they're both world champions, and Paul's got to believe in his ability, and Inoue got to believe in his. And Paul wants to go in there and test himself against the best. For Paul at his stage of his career, 32, 33, he wants to, them 20 years of boxing, this is what it's brought it to now, where he reaps the rewards. It's the big fight, the big money, and he'll set himself up, him and his missus, financially going forward. But Paul's attitude is, I can't wait to get in there with him and all this and that. And we spoke a few things, and that's Paul's drive. It's not a case of, right, Paul, do you know what? I think we'll have a defence at the Echo against this one, and that Andrew Malone, I called you out, so we'll fight him, and then we'll have a look round. And it's like, the time you have them 2 or 3 fights, I'm sure it still won't be the money that Paul knows he can get for Inoue, but it's not that. It's like, I've had obviously Anthony Crolla when he fought Lomachenko, when he fought Linares for all the marbles, Callum Smith when he fought Canelo. To say that you fought and been in with the best pound for pound in the world, and which I said in Boxing News a couple of weeks ago when they asked who the best fighter in the world was, I said that, well, it's between Inoue and Chocolatito. I think Chocolatito's a great fighter, but Inoue's proved that today. But that's it. Paul just wants to test himself against the best, and we'll come up with a game plan. He's got 2 arms, 2 legs, and I don't know, people start losing themselves. No one really give Tony Bellew a chance against Usyk, but without that fight go ahead, and no one give Dylan White a chance against Tyson Fury. So don't know why everyone's all of a sudden all and expressing an opinion like they are doing. But listen, Paul wants to fight him, and he wants to test himself against the best in the world. And I think all people do. All footballers want to play against the best in the world. All the runners want to run against the best. All UFC fighters want to fight. You don't see no one in the UFC saying you shouldn't fight that one or that one. They just want to see the best fighting the best. And Paul Butler and Inoue are the world champions in that weight division now. So if it's a chance for either of them to become undisputed, they both got to do that. People forget that. Who's not to say Paul Butler can't pull this off and become undisputed? That's a huge opportunity for him. So who knows? And that's why everyone tunes into boxing. No one knows. Nothing's a certainty. And I'm sure lots of people have written Paul off.
Yeah, absolutely. I think, personally, in an era of big fights not happening, the fact that Paul Butler is looking for the biggest and the baddest test in his weight division, he very easily could keep hold of that title and hold it hostage and have some defences in Liverpool, because he does sell tickets in Liverpool. But I think he should be applauded for the fact that he's willing to go out there and put it all on the line against maybe the most feared boxer on the planet, given how destructive he is with these knockouts. So I think certainly for Paul, he should be applauded for that.
And not only that. So what is every boxer? Not who go. So like Paul Butler's a world champion, and people say, "Oh, you shouldn't let him fight." Well, then say Inoue gets picked to fight someone else, so they got to tell him, "Oh, you shouldn't fight Inoue." And eventually, Inoue's got to fight someone, because that's how it is. But like I said to Paul before, I said, "Listen, there's a chance this fight. I'm not sure we can do 20,000 Manchester Arena, good undercard. Plenty of people come to watch Inoue." And Paul's like, he said, "Joe," he said, "I'd go to Japan. I don't care." He said, I love that atmosphere there before over in Japan. He said it was quite undercard, but once he came in the ring, it was electric. He said, "I'd love to be in there. I'd love to have that," and not intimidated one bit. And that's Paul Butler. And I know people say, "Oh, you've got to protect your fighter." But we've got a fighter here, you understand, that wants to test himself against the best of the world. We're not like somebody. All right, let me just give an example. I think it's a bad one too. Danny Dingham stepped up the other week and got took out, but there wasn't much saying beforehand, saying, "Oh, he shouldn't be in there, shouldn't be in there." So boxing's boxing, and that's how it is. Do you understand? And there's an opportunity there for Paul to go in against world champion, and a chance to become undisputed, as much for Paul as it is for Inoue. People forget that.
Yeah, absolutely. Do you think with Paul Butler, the whole pandemic situation and the mess that was the situation with Casemiro, was the fight happening, was it not happening? And then he ended up taking on a late replacement opponent. He went in there, he put in a career best performance, won the title in front of his home fans, and now he stands on the verge of an undisputed fight. He's as a boxer, he's not going to be looking at what he's achieved so far. He's going to be looking at what's next. But maybe he'd take a step back sometimes and just appreciate the position that he's got himself into after such a serious a period of time where it was quite uncertain.
Yeah, listen, it was a long road back for Paul, and he went in the World Boxing Super Series. He fought an undercard of a Josh Taylor, and Inoue was on it up there that time. Paul was on it. So Paul's been around Inoue, they've seen each other, they met each other size-wise. They both fought that night, and he fought on my shows, and then obviously he's fought on a few old MTK shows, and now here he is, got his opportunity, and he took it with both hands. And Paul Butler, as I said to you before, was an underdog, and no one gave him a chance. And Jonas wasn't somebody that just come in at last minute. He'd had like 8-10 weeks preparation for that fight. And Paul has still never been given, I feel, the credit for being able to step in against someone who had already beaten Casemiro, and to adapt the game plan and carry it out so well. So, listen, Paul's Liverpool's first 2-time world champion. And looking at some of the social media today, I think showed a huge lack of respect to Paul Butler.
Yeah, absolutely. We look forward to the next movement on that. Joe, it's been a while since we have spoke, so I just want to touch on a couple of previous events that we've not had a chance to catch up on. Natasha Jonas, what a moment that was, stepping up to super welterweight, finally getting her hands on that world title. I think it was the third time of trying, and what a way to go and get it done. Stunning knockout against Chris Namus. Firstly, your thoughts on the victory. Was you shocked by the knockout? Was that something that you could see coming, given that she went up in weight? Take us through your thoughts on the fight and the result.
Yeah, no, Natasha's always, it's funny, she started her career, I think, at 75 kilos, her first ABA title was 75, then it was 71, 69, or 67, 63, so she's always come down the weight divisions. As a pro world title opportunities, I've started down at 9'4", 9'9", and then the big jump to 11 stone, but Natasha's always carried power in her backhand. She's got a good boxing brain and good feet, and the shots that we worked on, we would practice them in the changing room with her sparring partners and sparring partner, and she went out there and she executed it lovely. It was a slip outside, backhand, and followed through the hook over it, and it was great. Finishing shots then when she came out and got the win. So really pleased with Natasha. She can live in peace now, being an Olympian, representing GB, and now to become a world champion. She's fulfilled her dream, and she wants the big fights. There's been lots of talk all year over the Hannah Rankin fight, and I'm seeing Natasha back and forth today and yesterday with Hannah Rankin and Dennis Hobson, Fight Zone. Listen, an offer's been put to Hannah Rankin. It's a career best ever offer. There's a date. She's known of the date for a long while. The venue and the offer's in there, and she won't get no better than what she'll get for Natasha Jonas. So I don't know what the delay is for. Hopefully that'll just get signed off very soon and get on with it, and that'll be in September time.
I think it's a fantastic story with Natasha. It's something that I spoke to her about recently, given that she had such great fights with Katie Taylor and with Terry Harper. You know, controversial in some eyes. Some people had her winning both fights, but to go up and win the title in the way that she did, and now she's almost stumbling into another super fight, because, you know, an all British female unification fight for 3 of the 4 belts doesn't get much bigger, and it's almost like a super fight that's, you know, 18 months ago we wouldn't have thought this possible, but now we're on the verge of another big women's world title fight in the UK.
Yeah, no, listen, Hannah Rankin, she's a good fighter. She's improving all the time. I did say to Natasha, because Hannah's last fight, her opponent, it was very unfortunate that she ended up in hospital and was in a coma. And I said to Natasha, I said, well, I'm not sure really how that might affect Hannah. You don't know you're in that position. I said, Hannah might not fight again after she's seen what's happened to her. It affects different people different ways, but looking and listening and seeing how she's responding, she's got to fight again. Then you've also got Cecilia Brackhouse fighting as well. That's a fight. Clarissa Shields, obviously she started giving Natasha a bit. And then there's also still Katie Taylor, which I find funny really, because Natasha Jonas, if you look at the scorecards, I think even with the Foon Passoon one, Natasha Jonas is the only one that's come closest to beating her on the scorecards, but no one wants to mention Natasha Jonas as a rematch opponent for Croke Park and Ireland. So that tells you all you need to know really, and how well and how much improvement Natasha is. Natasha's out there, she's looking for the big fights, and hopefully this Hannah Rankin one comes off and Cecilia Brackhouse wins, and that's a big fight. And Clarissa might move down, she beats Savannah, or Natasha might move back down and fight Jessica McCaskill. That'd be a big fight.
Yeah, some huge opportunities possibly for Natasha Jonas, and I think, you know, she's very much so deserving of the opportunities. That night, Joel, just quickly touching on away from your stable at the Manchester Arena in February, it was a long-awaited Kell Brook and Amir Khan fight. You know, regardless of the result, it was a momentous occasion, and I was in the arena myself, and you know, you would have been there as well. You know, what a moment, what an arena, what an atmosphere.
Yeah, it was a great atmosphere. I said all week, it's been a good long while since Manchester had that buzz in the city. Obviously, you always remember the days Ricky Hatton, Costa Tazoo. I think George Groves, Carl Froch, Quig Frampton. Them big nights was when the whole of Manchester, everyone couldn't wait. And that's what Kell Brook and Amir Khan was. We've had shows in between and pay-per-view events, but nothing that gripped the city and the country, for that matter of fact. But Manchester the whole week, you could see the press conferences, the weighing, everyone turning up, and it was fever pitch the time that ring walk happened with Kell Brook and all of the lights and the arena and enemies and like I say, it wasn't just a boxing fight. It was an event. It was a great event, and like I say, Kell Brook got the win, and I'm pleased to see now that both of them have retired now. I'm sure Amir will get tempted to do these exhibitions, a bit like what Floyd does, and I won't be surprised to not see most probably Floyd and Amir do one, or Amir and Manny Pacquiao do one, and I think Kell Brook might do one or two of them. Do you know what I mean? We see Ricky Hatton coming up now doing something with Barrera. I'd rather see Ricky Hatton doing something with Junior Witter or a Cotto than a Barrera, but it is what it is, and there seems to be a niche in the market for that. So maybe we might see Kell and Amir back in the ring again, but in an exhibition way.
Yeah, given that Kell Brook, he looked somewhat like his old self. Amir Khan was a bit more faded, unfortunately. But was you surprised maybe that more so Kell Brook retired, given the way he won? And there was rumours of the Chris Eubank Jr. fight, or maybe a Conor Benn fight, which would have been, massive paydays. But the fact that he decided to retire, which we've all got to agree with at the end of the day, given that it's a fighter's choice, and if the fire's not there, it's not there. But was you surprised by that at all?
I wasn't really, because listen, we all remember watching Kell Brook and Triple G. And then obviously against Errol Spence, and the problem with his eye sockets, and he's come through that fight. As you can see, the shape he was in, he gave it his all. He went in there, he got the decision, and you say anything, Joe, I'm getting out now while the going's good. Why do I want to go out on a loss or an eye injury or damaged health? It's like, that's what's bugged me all my career. I've done it, and I'm going out with my health intact now and everything else. And at the time, the suggestions of a Eubank Jr. or a Conor Benn, and I just thought, wow, it's just like, I don't really get that. Do you know what I mean? There's lots of domestic fighters for Conor Benn to fight, and Chris Eubank Jr. It's a shame, Chris, because I really like Chris Eubank Jr., but he seems to have gone off the beaten track of wanting to become a world champion and just be involved in events and names. Does that make sense? And before he gets just a little bit too old and past it now, I'd love to see Eubank Jr. in a big world title fight. It's a shame him and Triple G never happened. But that type of fight, do you understand, that to become a world champion and not just live on that IBO belt that he got that time, do you know what I mean? Because he is a good fighter when he's on a Eubank Jr. He is a good fighter, and it's a shame that I'm not seeing him tested against the very best, do you know what I mean, like a Triple G or whoever.
Yeah, absolutely second that. Switching focus back to your stable this Saturday. First up, we've got Callum Thompson. After a bit of a period away from the ring, he's 3-0. He's looking to go 4-0. And, speaking to guys within your stable, the types of likes of Anthony Crawler or Marcus Morrison, they speak very highly of Callum Thompson. And even yourself in the past when we spoke, very, very much highly touted is Thompson. So say to get Callum back in the ring this Saturday.
Yeah, no, it's good to get him out on the Frank Warren show in Telford and under the cameras as well. And he's got to step up as well, fighting Jordan Ellenson. Jordan Ellenson's no mug. He comes to fight, comes to win. He got a draw for him. Was it last week before last? And in the past, he's beat people like Sean Mashadod. And it's a step up for Callum Thompson in his fourth fight. Obviously, he's performing under the cameras. He's trying to impress Frank Warren. But he is talented. But like all fighters, the talented ones, sometimes you find it's the work ethic isn't there, and a lot of talented kids have huge potential. It's what they do with that potential. It's the same with Callum Thompson. He's got the skill set. He's quite fortunate to have a good work ethic, and he's just got to apply that and make use of it. And I do feel he's going to have a very bright future in boxing if we can just keep him on the right path and keep him busy and keep him active. And I think the trouble is with these kids that have come off Team GB, they're used to fighting all the time in GB, and they're used to being in tournaments and all over. And when they come out of it, then they fight once, and then they don't fight for 3 or 4 months. They're not used to it. They're used to being in the gym and fight. I'm out next month, right next month. So hopefully after this now, we'll gain some momentum and have him out again and again, and have him out like another 3 times before Christmas. And like I say, he'll be a good prospect for the future.
Yeah, we look forward to it. So July, that's starting off as a busy month for you, Joe. First of all, we've got Mark Heffron. He's challenging for the Commonwealth and British super middleweight titles against Lennox Clark, which is a great fan-friendly fight. I think when that was announced, there was a lot of good feedback on social media. So yeah, it's a great opportunity for Mark Heffron.
Yeah, it's a real, as a boxing fan, it's good to see 50-50 fights being made and fighters fighting each other and not ducking each other. And Lennox Clark, I know Lennox is a hugely motivated, a proud champion, very strong mindset, coming off a great win over Willie Hutchinson when he proved everyone wrong, and his tail's up. Mark Heffron now is back with me. He's had a couple of fights, moving up to super middleweight, and his confidence is growing again. 2 stoppages since he's been back with me, and since that eye injury stoppage with Denzel Bentley, and he knows it's his last chance of a shot of a British and Commonwealth. And this is a fight where you just need to tune in, get your popcorn and watch, and it'll be like, ooh, oh, ooh, and it's just going to be that type of fight, and I'm really looking forward to it. 2 solid pros, 2 hard men, both fighters can punch, and both are really wanting to walk away from this fight with these belts, and there's got to be no quarter given for this fight.
Absolutely. Now, Joe, you're not going to be one to give a prediction, but surely that fight doesn't go the distance.
I see people say Lennox. Listen, he had a good win with Hutchinson. He's had 20-odd wins, 6 only by stoppage. But he's work in progress when you're seeing where he's come from white collar, and the stoppage over Willie Hutchinson and stuff like you say, he's a forming guide. But Mark Heffron can punch himself. But I think both of them punch hard enough to gain each other's respect. So as much as we think it could be a real dingo, it's like, now you punch her there, you pinch her. So I do feel that there's got to be a backup plan on both sides of it. Do you know what I mean? I think it's a really good fight.
Yeah, absolutely. We look forward to that. And speaking of bangers, Callum Johnson, a long-awaited return. He's taken on, I think this was a fight that was mentioned a few years back. Is it Igor Mikhalkin? Was that a fight that was touted for the European title a couple of years back? But yeah, Callum Johnson back in the ring. First and foremost, we're really excited to see Callum back in and getting back in between the ropes, because on his day, he's arguably the very best of what is a highly skilled division in terms of the 175-pound division in the UK and on the world scene. And Callum Johnson's right up there in the mix with the very best. So yeah, really looking forward to getting him back in the ring. Yeah,
no, this fight was due to have happened on the Scott Quigg, John O'Carroll bill, if you remember rightly, just before lockdown for the European title, where it never happened. And then it was put to us again to happen in the Garden, but for Callum to take 50% less purse, and that was never going to happen. But it's happening now, finally, and on a big showdown in London, with some other interesting fights on the bill. But it's a tough fight for Callum Johnson, tall southpaw. He's challenged Kovalev in the past, got stopped with an eye injury, got stopped last time out with Baudelic, I think is how you pronounce him, the French kid. He got stopped in an eye injury, but he's tall, ranger, good feet, and quite elusive. And for both of them, it's a win. Both of them need a win to continue in boxing. Whoever loses will retire, and Callum Johnson knows that. And it's a tough fight. It's a 50-50 fight.
Is it safe to say, it's a bit of a difficult position for Callum Johnson to be in at the minute, given he had the Joe Smith fight, and unfortunately that fell through to no fault of his own. And now Joe Smith is in the unification fight with Beterbiev, and then maybe there's a undisputed fight down the line with Bivol, or a mandatory defence against Anthony Yard. So I think my question to you, Joe, is where does Callum Johnson fit in the mix here?
Yeah, listen, Callum had a frustrating time. First of all, we had the Bivol fight in December, and then the Joe Smith fight came along, so we took the Joe Smith fight. It was like buses, 2 came at once. So first of all, I've got to say Frank Warren did a great job in delivering for Callum Johnson. But then obviously Callum got COVID. It only happened to Callum, wouldn't it? So anyway, it took a while for him to get his head over it and recover. And then, like you said, the landscape's changed a bit now with Joe Smith fighting Beterbiev, Bivol beating Canelo, and From what I understand and from what I read, I think the winner of Smith BTBF has to fight Anthony Yarde in October. So in the meantime, Bivol rematch with Canelo isn't happening. So I thought Bivol and Moshe would then take on a Josh Buatsi, a Callum Smith, because they're highly ranked with them governing bodies. I think that there'd be the opportunity. It's easy to make it in-house. So I don't really know what Bivol's going to do or who he's going to fight, whether they have a quick defence. Yeah, I think it'll be a while. Say Anthony Yarde will fight that. So, and then Canelo beats Triple G. If he does he do a rematch with Bivol or doesn't do it at all? So you've got to look at as well on the domestic front. There's some great fights to be made, but also then you look at you've got Gilberto Ramirez, good fighter. He's around. He'll be wanting to get in the mix there. So it's an exciting time for the light heavyweight division and boxing. There's some great prospects coming through. And there's fighters, seasoned campaigners that are just sitting and waiting for their opportunity.
Yeah, so I think one of the interesting things is with Callum Johnson is that a couple of years back, maybe just at the start of the pandemic when I spoke to him last, he kind of seen himself at that world level and he was a level above the domestic scene. You know, he likes London Arthur, Anthony Yarde, Joshua Buatsi. But in that time, these guys have all fought each other. And do you think Callum might look at these now as a more credible opponent? You know, somebody like a Joshua Buatsi coming off a Craig Richards win, or maybe a London Arthur who holds a win over Anthony Yarde. Do you think you'd now look at them as a more credible opponent?
Yeah, I think so. But I think, like you just mentioned there, I think Josh Buatsi afterwards, he was saying he was desperate for a world title. He's on his case for a world title. So I think Buatsi Bivol's a natural fight to be made. I see Callum Smith now was in a WBC final eliminator. So will he take on the winner of BTBF if he beats Joe Smith? Although Frank's saying he's got that tied up. So in the meantime, there's fights to be made, but who wants to lose that position or risk that position fighting a fellow countryman for a quarter or half the money they'd get for fighting a BTBF for Joe Smith or a Bivol? They're not got to risk it either. Do you know what I mean? I'm sure Josh Buatsi ain't got to risk it with Callum Johnson for that money when he knows he'll get more money for Bivol. Same with Lyndon Arthur. Do you know what I mean? That's just how people say, oh, they should fight and everything else, but the prize fighters and at the end of the day, they're all wanting a shot at that world title, and what comes with fighting for the world title and winning the world title, all of them are capable of becoming world champions. I do feel BTBF against Joe Smith's got to be a good fight, but how much longer can BTBF go on for as Bivol come to his prime at the right time? After that, would you fancy Bivol against BTBF? You might do. Will Bivol and Joe Smith have a real tear up, or will BTBF beat Joe Smith? So then you've got, like I said, you've got Gilberto Ramirez, Callum Smith, Josh Buatsi, some really good fighters over in America as well. So it's it's an exciting. It's one of the most exciting divisions in world boxing at the moment, the light heavyweights.
Yeah, it really is. There's some great potential fights to be made. With the rest of your stable, we've got Charlie Edwards. Where are we up to with Charlie Edwards, former world champion?
Yeah, Charlie, like you say, at the moment now, he's just been over, did a bit of training, go back to Portugal, and then we'll have him back in the gym in July, then looking for him to get out in September. He's ranked highly in all the governing bodies, and he just needs to be in a position that whoever wins that undisputed belt, if Inoue wins it and goes on and gives up all the belts and become fragmented, he's in a position to challenge for one of them, or the weight division below, either or for Charlie Edwards. I really do feel it's just a matter of time, not if, but when Charlie Edwards becomes a two-time world champion. He's so talented and dedicated, and I just think he just needs the right fight and the opportunity, and Britain and the UK will have another world champion.
Absolutely. A recent addition to the gym in Welshman, Shaun Yaxley. He got a win on the Kieran Farrell Promotions card not too long ago, and I know his girlfriend, his wife, gave birth to a child, so we congratulate him on that. But yeah, he's an exciting fighter, and you know, maybe still in that prospect stage. But where are we up to with Shaun Yaxley?
Yeah, no, this is definitely a prospect. He had that win. It was a stressful time he had the win because his wife was due to give birth And at one point, he didn't think he was going to fight, but he fought, and then the baby came a week later. So I've said to him to go away, just enjoy being a dad for a while, help his missus, let her get back up on her feet. And he's been back in the gym training. Like you said there, he's 10-0. He's a good prospect. He's got potential. And I've said to him, listen, you need 3, 4, 5 fights, 6 rounders, 8 rounders. Then let's look at a title of sorts, Celtic title, Welsh title, whatever. Jerome, his friend, did really well, winning a belt recently. And maybe getting him out there, maybe get him on a Sky show. He does huge tickets. Oh my God, I couldn't believe the amount of tickets that he sells and that he brings up just for a 4-rounder on Kieran Farrell's show. Big ticket seller. Wrexham Football Club there, he's got an association with them, and they're doing well at the moment. So if we were to do a show in Wales or North Wales, I'm sure it'll be well popular. And it's only a short trip up the road to the Echo, the Manchester Arena. So all he's got to do is keep winning, keep improving. I'm sure he'll get his opportunity. But he's a prospect and one to watch. And I nicknamed him in the gym the Welsh Cotto. I said that's a big tag, and you'll have to live up to it. But he's got huge potential, Shaun, and what a nice kid as well. A really nice kid, down to earth lad.
Yeah, he's a good guy, Shaun. His dad's a great guy as well. I spoke to them previously in the past. So yeah, great little setup he's got going there. Joe, we could sit and talk about boxing all night, but I don't want to keep you for too much longer. Finally, the last thing that I wanted to speak about is your promotional outfit, M22 Promotions. I just wanted a little bit of information on where we're up to with that. It was a great little thing you had going on there with this Sunday afternoon boxing, and of course the pandemic put paid to that. Is M22 Promotions likely to make a return?
Yeah, that's got to happen very soon. So that's got to happen very soon. So there'll be news about that very soon. That's got to happen very soon. Obviously, quick one, I don't forget anyone. Jose Burton's in the gym. He's campaigning at cruiserweight now. He's moved up to cruiserweight, so we've got to get him a win and get him out and challenge him for the British title or whoever. Obviously, Macaulay McGowan, get him out with a win after his fight. Marcus Morrison, get him out for his win as well. Like you say, you mentioned Charlie there before. And then I'm really excited about Clark Smith, who'll be he's just been before the board, got his license, and he's won 3 national titles, and he'll be making his pro debut in September. But he's one to watch as well. So the gym's absolutely bouncing at the moment. Obviously with Crawler and his couple of kids, James Moorcroft, Rihanna, and a couple of others that he's got there, Bobby, Jake, and James. There's a real good buzz and atmosphere in the gymnasium. So there's a lot of hungry fighters.
Absolutely. I think one of the things that we spoke about last time, I think it was before the Marcus Morrison Chris Eubank Jr. fight we last spoke, and I was sure that you said at that time that once this crop was done with, that you was calling it a day, and now here you are with some really exciting prospects and bringing new people into the gym.
Yeah, I felt that at the time, and I wanted to see how. I always said there was world titles in Butler, Natasha, and Callum Johnson, because at the time no one was really giving him any credit. They all thought it was a one-man gym or a two-man gym, and Natasha fulfilled her dreams. Paul Butler has, and Callum Johnson was unfortunate not to have got the Joe Smith fight due to COVID. But I still feel that there's titles still in some of them. Callum Johnson, Mark Heffron, and Marcus Morrison. So we'll see. And like you said, there's a new crop coming through. Charlie Edge as well, a new crop. So like you say, just when you think you're out, it drags you back in. And I think more so than anything else, it's just I don't feel I'm satisfied with what we've achieved up to now. There's still a lot more that I want to achieve.
Exciting times, Joe. Well, thanks for your time, and I'm sure we'll catch up again real soon.
Cheers, no problem. Thank you.